underneath the hood of the Prologue. There is only a single battery choice that's available, and that's this 85 kilowatt hour. And then there's either the single motor front wheel drive or the dual motor all-wheel drive setups. So the 2025 all-wheel drive, you're looking at 300 horsepower, 355 pound-feet of torque. And since this is the Touring in Canada or the Elite down in the US, there's an available sport mode. So let's get back up to highway speed here, and we'll go in 3, 2, and electric power. 100. So the power level is acceptable. Is it the best possible power you're going to find inside of an electric? Nope. Not at all. There are definitely more electrics out on the market right now that have more power with the same or better range at a similar price point. Underneath the hood here, it's a little bit of a jumbled mess. So there's no engine cover at all. There's no frunk space available whatsoever. You're going to get all that space in the trunk of the ride. And one of the benefits of being an electric, you don't have to worry about anywhere near as much maintenance. So if you are looking at gas versus electric, if you don't necessarily go on road trips all the time or often whatsoever, it could be worth looking at the electric, not only for the cheaper operating costs, but also for the fact that you don't have to maintain the thing quite as much as its internal combustion counterparts. The front end style of the Prologue is pretty interesting. So across the entire lineup, you are going to find LED headlamps, and then there are some fog lamps down low. The lamps do look pretty solid at nighttime, and then the overall design, the style of it, you've got a nice glossy highlight that goes through it where the grille would traditionally sit. The lower part of the bumper is also that glossy black highlight with a little silver trim in the middle. Technology-wise, inside of the Prologue, you're going to find the forward park sensing system along with the front-facing camera, and that's going to be the highest 2 trim levels in Canada and the States. So the entry-level trim won't have that available technology. You're going to find the Prologue front wheel versus all-wheel drive depending on which trim level that you're looking at. It is nice that the Prologue is front-wheel drive standard rather than rear-wheel, because even if you're front-wheel with a good set of winter tires, the handling is good. It's just slightly better in all-wheel. Plus you get more available range with the front-wheel drive version, but you get more power all-wheel, so it's a pretty delicate balance there. You're looking at either 19 or 21-inch wheels inside of the ride, with the highest available trim getting that 21-inch wheel option. Charging for the Prologue is done just along the driver's side in the front. It's got support for level 1, level 2, and for level 3 DC supercharging. You're going to find an 85 kilowatt hour battery inside of the Prologue. And then that 85 kilowatt battery is going to be the same whether you're in the front wheel or the all-wheel drive versions. As I mentioned, front wheel drive will have slightly better range in comparison to all-wheel drive, but it's pretty small. And then even looking at 2024 versus 2025, the 25 models have slightly more horsepower and torque and a little bit more range. So Honda's really kind of squeezing out that last little bit of performance they can get with the existing setup. The overall charge times that you're going to get are going to depend on if you're level 1, level 2, or level 3 charging. Do you go for a level 2 charge station at home is going to depend on how far you're driving. I don't have a level 2 charger, I just do a regular wall plug, and it's a 1 kilowatt hour draw. So to go from 0 to 100% full is going to take a little over 3 days in ideal conditions. And that's where conditions really come into play, because in general for electrics, you're going to lose 20 to 25% of your range immediately just because of colder climates. And then it's also going to take you a little bit longer, typically about 20% longer to charge. So those are things you have to factor into the equation there of whether you even look at investing in a home charge station. Just going knowing you could be okay with level 1 charging, so a regular wall plug, if you're only driving a few kilometers a day or a few miles per day. You might want to invest in a level 2. If you're going, I'd probably say 50 to 100 kilometers or around 40 to 60 miles a day for driving habits. Then looking at the range inside of the ride, the 2025 models have 308 miles versus the all-wheel drive versions, you're maxing out at 294 miles or 473 kilometers. When you look at the Touring trim level in Canada or the Elite down in the States, with all of the extra tech and features, you are losing a little bit of range. Not much, but just a little bit. So go in knowing that if you want all of the features, your range gets affected a tiny little bit more. The price point for the Prologue is a little bit higher, especially when you look at the combined horsepower torque outputs along with the available range. But if you want to stay in the Honda world, the Prologue is a pretty good car overall. This Prologue is in the Pacific Blue metallic exterior, and the metallic highlights look great. I'm personally a big fan of blue, so seeing blue with all of the black highlights throughout, I absolutely love it. The rear end styling of the Prologue is just as simple as the front end design. You're going to find glossy black highlights all the way throughout, stretched in the middle and down low. You are looking at LED tail lamps inside of the ride, and then in every trim level, you're always going to find the reverse park sensing system, the backup camera, along with the rear wiper. So those are going to be there regardless of the trim. Towing inside of the Prologue is also possible. Doesn't matter if you're front wheel versus all-wheel drive, your max towing capacity inside of this ride is going to be 1,500 pounds. So not the most amount of towing capacity, but acceptable. So small boats, bike rack carriers, small trailers, things like that would be okay. One thing to take into account is that if you are towing in an electric, your range will be negatively impacted. So if you're pulling 1,500 pounds, your range will probably drop anywhere from 10 to 30% depending on your driving habits. So you're going up hills quite a bit, etc. So lots of things to consider, but it's useful that that's available. Getting into the trunk of the ride can be done so many different ways. There's a button just on the first row driver's side door. You can use the key fob to do it. Just underneath the N in Honda in the back, there's a little handle there. You can just insert your fingers and push in order to open up. And then you're also going to find the option for a foot-activated liftgate. So as long as your Prologue has it and you've got the key fob on you, all you're going to do is swipe your foot in the back. The look of worry on my face, like, is it going to open? You've got a foot-activated liftgate. The downside to the foot activated is that if the sensors are covered in snow, ice, mud, etc., they won't open. But you saw there are lots of options in order to get into the trunk. And feature-wise back here, off to the right-hand side, there's nothing outside of a light. Off to the left, you've got that same light, and then there's also a 12-volt power point. So there are two 12-volt power points in the ride. There's one in the trunk, and then one in the first row too. This one has one of the interior protection packages, so it's got the rubberized tray in the back, but lifting up the tray, you're not going to find a spare tire. So there is an inflator kit, but you do also have access to Honda roadside assistance. So if you ever puncture a tire, if you've locked yourself out, if your batteries died, etc., you can call an 800 number. Someone can come out in order to give you a hand. And then you're also going to find the charge cable inside of the ride. Storing it back here just makes more sense. And one nice thing is that it's got support for level 1 and for level 2. So there's just a tip that you pull off and then just slide back in order to go level 1 or level 2. So it's a 20-foot cable right from the factory, which is great. And it is IP67 weather rated, which means that it can get wet. So you can't fully submerge the brick in water, but if it's snowing, if it's raining, whatever the case may be, the brick, the charge cable itself are going to be covered. So there's no issue from that perspective. Now, folding down the second row seats inside of the ride is going to be a manual process. You can do it from the second row, but you can also easily do it from the trunk. There's a button along the left side in the top. You're going to grab and drop, and it's the same thing along the passenger. And down it goes. Now, it's not a fully flat fold inside of the car, but it still is fairly flat, and there's a great amount of cargo space you're going to find inside of this ride. And the cargo measurements that you're looking at, specifically behind the first row, go from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind the little armrest between the first row seats. So if the driver's seat, passenger seat were forwards or backwards, you'd gain or lose a little bit of extra space. But overall, excellent amount of space inside of this car. There's the option for power folding side view mirrors, otherwise they would be manual. They've got turn signals built in, and because this one has the 360 camera, you've got a side mounted camera. There's a blind spot system, so if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it's going to highlight there to let you know. And they're also auto dimming, so if somebody's flashing their high beams or they've got their brights on at night, it'll dim out for you. Hopping inside the ride, you're going to find a few things. So there's the option for driver's seat memory, and then the buttons here are the same for the most part. So this one is for the power folding side view mirrors, but otherwise it's your side view mirror controls, window controls with some storage, high and low. You've got the release for the trunk for the first row. There are a few different speaker choices that are available. Now, this one has a few different options here too. So you've got your parking brake. Because this is the Touring in Canada, it'd be the Elite in the US. There's a sport mode. There's a lane keeping system, auto hold, and figure out what's going on with the brightness of the cluster. Some manual telescoping steering wheel across the board. Hood release, and this one has the interior protection package, which gives you the thermoplastic rubber trays. There are a few different seating materials that are available inside of the Prologue. This one has a multi-way adjustable seat, so forwards, backwards, up and down, adjust your backrest, and then multi-way lumbar support. Hopping inside, let's do a little start up here. While that's loading up, looking at the first row space inside of the ride. I'm 6 feet tall, and there we go. With the seat as far down as it's gonna go, I've got over 4 inches of headspace. So if you're 6'4", probably 6'5", you'll comfortably be able to sit inside of this ride. Seat memory, love it. But the seat itself is fairly comfortable. Not bad. Then, looking, so you've got fully digital cluster screen and then infotainment system, but these are feature packed. If you want walkthroughs though, like you want to know how to use the steering wheel buttons, use adaptive versus normal cruise, etc., you'll find walkthroughs for all the technology down in the description of this video. There's the option for a head-up display inside of the Prologue, along with a full mapping cluster view too. It's pretty neat. So means you're going to find adaptive versus traditional cruise control. There's the option for a heated steering wheel inside of the ride. Then the infotainment system is feature packed. So it's got wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay that are backwards compatible. So you could hook up over USB Type-C if you wanted to go that route. But you're going to find so many different things. So there's factory navigation built in. One thing I like about this screen is that it's Google based, which means that you can download additional apps directly to the screen. You can log into your Google account. So if you're using Google Maps on your phone, you can log in that way and you'll be able to see all of your previously searched for addresses. But there are so many things inside of this ride. Like I said, full walkthrough, you'll find it down in the description, but it is good that it's wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. There's the option for that full 360 camera. On top of that, you can see a top-down view, side-mounted view, into a 360 view. The overall camera quality is good. I would like to see it improved a tiny little bit, especially utilizing the 360 camera a bit differently, but the feature sets there are pretty good. You've got dual zone climate control inside the ride. All of your climate control buttons are actual physical buttons, which is great. There is some options for adjusting climate. So you're going to find options here inside of the infotainment system where you can adjust things out. But like I said, everything is available down low. You're going to find 2 USB Type-C data and charge ports. So if you wanted to connect multiple phones, you could. There's a 12-volt power point up here. Nice little storage tray with a few cup holders. And then the option for a wireless charge pad. So all you're going to do is just drop your phone in there. If wireless charging is available on your phone, it'll charge up. The armrest here has a great amount of space with a little removable tray. On top of that, it's a nice glossy highlight that follows all the way through. Down low, there's a glove box. It's fully lockable. Good amount of space in that glove box. You've got a few different speaker choices that are available inside of the ride. So it's either a 6-speaker system or a 12-speaker system. Inside of the 2 highest trims, it's going to be a 12-speaker system. Lower trim is going to be a 6-speaker audio system instead. But the audio quality that you get inside of the ride is fantastic. Up overhead, there's an auto-dimming rear-view mirror. You can't turn that auto-dimming functionality off. And this is funny. This is how you know it's a GM-based car, because you've got OnStar support. So that's something you're not going to find in Hondas, but it is available there because this car is built off of the Blazer EV platform. You've got the option for a full panoramic sunroof inside of the ride, and it just opens it up so nicely. I love that. Then you've got the option of tilting, so if you wanted to create a little breeze, You could, or fully open up instead. From there, you've got your assist handle. Overhead, ticket receipt holder on the outside, but not on the inside. There's a vanity mirror that has lights built in. And then this little feller stretches out to block most of the sun that hits your face. So depending on how far backwards you sit, you might get a little bit of sun glare there, but not bad by any stretch. I do like the overall design of the ride. Price point wise, I do think that it should be a little bit more powerful with a bit more range based off of what Honda is charging for it. But let's look at the second row here. Oh, there we go. Now, taking a peek. Second row. You've got basics along the door here. So your basic window control with some speakers and some door storage. Hopping inside. I've got the driver's seat set up for myself the way that I would traditionally drive, being 6 feet tall. And I've got a great amount of foot space, knee space, and head space. With me sitting fully upright is tight. So I'm 6 feet tall. And hold on, with me actually sitting upright, my head is touching. So if you're, I'd say maybe 5'10", you might not want to sit in the second row of the Prologue, because if your head's hitting the top there, you're in a rollover accident. It's kind of begging for trouble. But if you're shorter, family members, friends, things like that can sit back here, you're good. You can always lean back a little bit if you really needed to. But you can fit a bunch of kid seats back here. So you've got all of your tether or anchor points there, and then your tethers are in behind the seats. You're going to find some cup holders built right into the seats, along with your assist handle there. So there's an assist handle with a light on the passenger side, and that's the same setup. So an assist handle with a light, but there's also a hook on the driver's side. But otherwise, simple back here. You've got a little map pocket behind the passenger side and the driver's side. You're going to find a few vent controls with some storage. Down low, there are 2 USB Type-C charge and data ports. And then there's also a traditional wall plug back there. All right, let's try some en route handling here. Actually, let's pop it into sport mode too. Oh yeah. That is solid. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's good. I like it. There we are. Looking at the overall cabin noise inside of the Prologue, it is not bad by any stretch. You're traveling at highway speeds right now, and you can hear a little bit, but it's pretty solid at the same time. No complaints. And that was a look at the Honda Prologue Touring, or the Elite down in the US. What'd you think? You can find all of the build details for this Prologue down in the description, along with links off to Honda Canada, US, and all the tech walkthrough videos. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful, and until I see you next time, take care.